Welcome to another episode of An Echo of Glory. I've got to start by saying thanks to Cavi, who was on work experience here at the wonderful LaunchPod Studios, for putting that little montage together, the hype montage. Are you hyped now after a draw against Roma? It's great, that.
It's really good.
That is
brilliant. Thank you, Cavi.
Yeah.
It's like the pre-match.
It's our pre-match. Yeah.
Yeah, like poor sod, he's a Spurs fan as well.
It's the best thing LaunchPod have ever produced, isn't it?
Well, I was going to say that includes this show and probably today's version. All right. Hello, gentlemen. I'm Johnny Blaine. You're Ollie Spiro, and
Morning.
you're Jake Sanders. We're having a chat about who's Jake 1 and Jake 2.
Well, apparently it's Jake and Jake 2. There's no Jake 1, is there?
Oh, it's Jake and Jake 2.
According to the producer.
Who is the producer?
Yeah, but like Queen Elizabeth was Elizabeth until Queen Elizabeth II, then she became Queen Elizabeth I.
Right.
So there are two Jakes.
This
so,
is not where
so
I
it
saw
needs to
the
be
chat
one and-
going.
I'll just do 1 and 2, really.
Call me whatever you want.
All right, you get. I want to start by, we didn't speak to you. Well, obviously we did on WhatsApp and we had a phone conversation, Ollie, but we have to go back to the Man City performance last Saturday, beaten 4-0, if you didn't know. And I asked on the show last week what was our best ever Premier League win, and I wasn't sure. And the more we talked about City, I was like, yeah, it's this. So what were your thoughts on the game, Ollie, and talk about what you think is our best Premier League win?
First of all, I think absolutely incredible win. If it's not the best win in the Premier League era, it is certainly Champions League level. But you're beating a team that have won the league 4 times in a row. We've obviously got a really oddly weird record at the Etihad. I couldn't see us doing that at other stadia, but we just seem to feel very comfortable there. But we deserved the win. I think probably the most satisfying part of could have scored more, but also the fact that actually I think the team functioned really well, and it was a bit of professionalism. That second half performance, especially given the sort of still open wounds of Brighton, we managed that really well. And I think it's one of the greatest wins that we've had in, the three of ours sort of Spurs supporting eras. I think, I got a bit of abuse on from the live show the other day when I sort of on YouTube when I sort of messaged in. Going away to other top 6 teams has not been a happy hunting ground for us. I think we've beaten Liverpool at Anfield 3 times. We obviously spoke Anfield, we'd won in 1912, and then Garth Crooks in 85, I think it is. So there was the joke that we hadn't won since the Titanic. Spurs as a team have not had historically good performances. Old Trafford, we've done a bit better, but again, we had a hiatus between 1990 and 2012.
AVB.
The AVB, which I would also put down as one of the greatest ever, because you're beating a Fergie team with Rooney in. You look at the professionals in that team, and that was also Bale putting Ferdinand to the sword. That's Bale and Dembele stepping up into a new team. So that's in my view one of them. And when you win, obviously we won at Chelsea, but we've only done that once in the Premier League era. Again, Arsenal, we've only done it twice in the Premier League era in the 3-2. But I think Man City, I think it's got to be the best one, because you've got to beat a team 4-0 as well.
Yeah, we didn't just beat them; we put them away.
Yeah,
Jake.
I think if it was, I wouldn't say it was the best result. I think that if it was result, as in winning the game, that United win under AVB would have been. United just lost the league and then went and won the league that year. And as we mentioned before, that Steve Carr goal against United, 3-1, in terms of result, but 4-0, I just think there's nothing close for me. To win 4-0, that sort of puts it above, head and shoulders above everything else.
Can I have a special mention, though? Not Premier League, but winning at Anfield in 94-95 FA Cup quarter-final. Again, we've spoken on the show before about our lack of big cup wins. And that was a good Liverpool team with Fowler and other players and much. And especially I was there. It's still one of my greatest ever memories. And that, that's a big, huge match. And again, domestically, I don't feel like we've got those huge big cup.
I'm not saying it's going to be as big, but we've got another chance for a big cup win coming up. So you're right. We've not had massive.
Rangers. It's interesting what Ross says here and about our records at these grounds,
that's what
it's
Ollie was
always
saying.
been appalling, hasn't
Well,
it?
we were doing the maths, wasn't it? So it's 32 years of the Premier League, and if you're going to count Man City, you have to take out, because there's obviously 2 Man Cities within the Premier League era, pre-2008 and post-2008. I was almost going to do the maths of, say, call Villa 92 to 2008, because they were a good team up to that point, and then actually City 2000, and look at that away record. But and actually Villa Park we've actually done broadly
Recently.
okay. We did, but in the 90s we were terrible there. But if you look at those, for the 4 big ones being Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool and United, you know, what is it, 100, it's 32 times 4, it's 130 odd games, and I think we've won 13 times,
Yeah,
is
it
it,
was
or
about
something?
11 or 12
So
or 13.
we're 1 in 10, which implies that we're getting a result every 2.5 years or something like that.
Which sounds about right.
But one thing I will say, the counter argument to that is, not many clubs win at these grounds, and I include Arsenal. You check Arsenal's record in the last 15 years; it is appalling.
It's dropped off a cliff.
They've won at us 3 times in a row, but they never win at City. They never win at Old Trafford. They never win at Anfield, and until recently, they never win at Stamford Bridge. And you know, City aside, not many teams do that.
No,
they
it's
don't
true.
do that. Even Liverpool, you know, get the odd win here or there, but teams generally
that is true.
do
if
not do
if
that.
only we had a guy who worked to the Premier League stats who could maybe do a league table of.
We don't need that.
I could, but I'm not.
We shouldn't be going down that road because we've just beaten City 4-0.
But I think it then also demonstrates winning away from home to a top 6 team is really good. Look, I have no doubt we'd be bottom of the top 6. We're there really because we are a financial juggernaut, not necessarily because of our on-field success, but we are incredibly consistent. Probably of the top 6, our sort of standard deviation of points achieved over the last 15 years is probably second to City, really. Our highs and lows are not that different. You know, we broadly finish between 60 and 70 points, and it's very consistent. And we've got European football pretty much every year for the last 15 years. So we are, but in those bigger games, we will come off slightly short.
Just the last one on City, I think that one of the most pleasing things is, and I always say this whenever we go to the Emirates, Old Trafford, Stamford Bridge, we play the ground. We play that ground and we play our records at that ground. And we have, ironically, got a good record at City. But that was one of the first times that I remember we went to one of these top 6 grounds and we didn't. And we really looked in control. Even when City, you know, we were comfortable sitting in and, you know, sort of playing on the counter-attack when we're 2-0 up. And there was a spell at 3-0 up. And, you know, we looked really comfortable and we sort of enjoyed defending for parts of that game.
I think that's why it's sort of...
Whereas we so often have, you know...
I wasn't even worried. But, you know, I think you're totally right about the occasion.
We played that occasion
look at
so
some...
well.
I mean, we could all list off. Like, think about some of the refereeing decisions that have gone against us in these big grounds. But more importantly, like individual absolute clangers that have happened against us, you know, that have changed the games. You know, goals change games.
Just to end on City, Soul Sniper Gaming on our comments. Get involved in the comments if that's what you like to do. Guys, City are powder puff right now. Finals scored 3 in 20 minutes. How hilarious was that, by the way? This City team right now is rubbish. Fine, they're going through something. You've still got to go there and win 4-0.
52 years.
Yeah.
I'm not having that.
The thing is, City are poor. This is the poorest they've ever been under Pep, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But, and I'm not even trying to, you know, overstate our result. City don't lose at home. No. All of these bad performances were away from home. They don't lose at home.
Oh, but
they don't.
We don't win away from home.
Yeah, I know. We were 7-1. We were 7-1. It wasn't, you know, you can say City are rubbish as much as you want.
We got to rejoice in these moments. We've gone and won at the Champions.
Very good Christmas reference. Rejoice.
Oh yeah, it's November here in the studio in our screens. All right. One thing that did happen on the back of City was we got 48 hours of fun. Of course, that's all we're allowed as Tottenham Hotspur fans. Because out of nowhere, I was at work just before working on Newcastle West Ham, and a Colchester fan that I work with sent me a message. Have you seen about Vicario? In my head, I didn't think anything about an injury because there'd been no sign of it. I thought he'd done something stupid on Twitter, or, you know, were we in a bit of trouble on social media? And then it starts coming through that he's broken his ankle and he's out for 10 to 12 weeks or something.
I think, and then some.
Yeah, I mean, wow. But what I want to ask
for our Australian fans who've only just started supporting Spurs, welcome.
This will happen.
I'm numb to it now.
Okay,
No,
so
you're not, though.
I wanted to ask you.
When it came out, my first thought was, this is going to be a laugh with Forster.
I want to ask you.
Oh yeah, I took it really well.
Just like, what can you...
When the first thing I did, and what a load of other people did, was who are the free agents, who are the free goalkeepers available? Some you'd never heard of. Loris Karius, obviously, still available. And the one that stuck out for me was Keylor Navas. The bloke's played 600 times for club and country. There's some rumours doing the rounds that we approached him and a deal could have been done, and it didn't happen, whether Ange said, I don't want him. I don't know. I reckon if that is the case, that we said we can get him, Ange has gone, I'm fine with what we've got. For me, when your number 2 is in goal, your number 3 can't be someone with respect. Is it Alfie White? It's Brendan Austin, who hasn't played a professional game for 3.5 years since he was playing in America. I'd have signed him, Navas, even if it's until the end of December. We've got 9 games between now and the end of December. Okay, he wouldn't be able to get into the Europa League squad. So what? 7 domestic games. I don't know. I just feel like to have that. If Navas was my number 2, I'd be a lot more comfortable with it.
I'd probably be more comfortable with him as our number 1 over.
Well, Forster did well last night.
Forster, okay, look. Injuries happen in football. It feels like we get a bit battered and bruised. I just think that someone somewhere within the club has sat there, and you must be working through your squad through the summer, wherever it is, and sitting there thinking, what if? What's in a scenario that actually our goalkeeper breaks his hand, which is a very reasonable assumption, and is out for 6 to 8 weeks, for example. And someone said, "Yep, we've got Fraser Forster." Absolutely
I don't
fine.
have a problem with that, Ollie. But it's at this point where I'm like, you can make a decision to bring. This is not a complaint because I think we might be okay. Forster was fine last night, or slightly of a slight complaint. I just think at that point, forget the summer. Summer's been and gone. I don't think Fraser Forster is too bad a backup goalkeeper. Maybe we could have better, but we don't. I think at this point, when this has happened, we should have capitalised on a player like Keylor Navas.
Can I just also say, I would rather see Austin make mistakes than old guys who
That's fair enough.
And yet, like, why you never know what might happen with Brandon Austin. I'd rather, because he's also club trained, and that's also really important. But I don't know about Navas. I can't really remember what he was like for Forest.
Decent.
He did,
and he can play with his feet. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I think that's the key as well. That for a goalkeeper, you almost want as much of a clone as you can possibly have, and we know how important it is a goalie playing with their feet in the in our team especially. And I don't know. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Wouldn't you what?
Why wouldn't you take him on if you're just going to have him as a? I don't know.
Any thoughts?
My frustration with it isn't, and as I said, I'm numb to these injuries now because we seem to have so many. But we have played with fire for 15 months, right? When Vicario went down on Saturday, I think it was his 50th game, wasn't it, in a row? Yeah. I thought when he got up injured, I thought, oh, thank God, because an injury will happen eventually to a goalkeeper. If you keep playing with fire, and Forster was injured last season, wasn't he?
Yes.
Didn't we have Austin on the bench?
Yes.
We have and imagine if that had happened. That's unprecedented for a top 6 club to have a nobody come in. We have played with fire, and eventually you will get burnt, and we've been burnt at the worst possible time. So that's my frustration. If he's going to back Fraser Forster, fair play, and I don't mind Fraser Forster as a goalkeeper, but the way we play, and he was fine with his feet last night. Besides one in the second half that he looked like he just lobbed out for a throw-in on purpose, casually, but. He can't come off his line, and we are going to play Chelsea in a few weeks, and that's going to be Nicholas Jackson, and we are going to play Liverpool, and it's going to be Mo Salah, and we are going to play United, and that's going to be Marcus Rashford, and balls over the top with Van der Ven not playing potentially, and Forster in goal. That's a huge risk to the way we play.
And let's be honest here as well. I think he made a couple of decent saves last night.
He made 2 top saves,
but
brilliant saves.
But there's the other element, like the finishing in the Premier League is just that little bit sharper.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd go for that, because Fulham and Bournemouth players are no better than Dybala and El Shawari and this guy and that guy. But
Listen, Soul Sniper back on. All this nonsense regarding Forster. He was fine last night. I agree, but we're
talking long term.
Long term, and long term is even 9 games. We're one moment away from having a very, very untried 25-year-old goalkeeper who, as Sidney Duke says in the comments, we gave him a 5-year contract. They must see something. But 25 is young for a goalkeeper.
Vicario is only 20. We signed him at 26.
He's played a lot of games.
Yeah,
he's played. James Trafford is young, but he's played a lot of games.
I think the frustration is right. If I mean, and they've got a good backup, but if Raya was out for 2 months, yeah, Neto for Bournemouth is fine. You know, I'd love to have him, but Arsenal don't give up that many chances and don't play this crazy high line, so it would be fine. Do you know what I mean? Previously, it would be fine if we had someone, but the way we play, it makes such a difference. His shot stopping is fine, Forster. He's made some brilliant saves 2 years ago, and you know, in recent games, Galatasaray lost. But the way we play with that high line, I mean, as I said before, that Dybala one, he was like, "I'm not coming off my line. I'm just not doing it," and I just worry about that. That's the concern for me. But we've got. It
does transform the way we play. Because you have to be conscious of it.
Well, it's worse without Van der Ven as well.
It's exacerbated. So that then, as we all agree, injuries happen in football. It's up to the manager to then mould it accordingly to make sure that the team is covered for as much as you can for what you've got in front of you.
This isn't a complaint about Forster. I just thought of this this moment we could have grabbed someone as a backup, but we didn't. Okay, Forster was fine last night.
And by the way, I agree with the comment of like force is not the reason that Spurs will lose games because, and this brings me back to why I'd rather play Austin, because actually if someone's getting a chance, the problem has happened further up the pitch. Something's happening. But actually, if Austin's able to sprint 40 yards off his gut and then means we're able to play a higher line, maybe that's going to be better for our team than actually having to drop back because we've got a goalkeeper who can't move. So, and also, as I said, I'd rather see what Austin can do. I'd rather say, yeah, I'll get behind you.
Well, that's Ange. Ange has come out and said, I'm not buying someone because I trust what I have. So that's Ange's shtick.
Well, he trusts Forster.
Do you know what's quite interesting? And I thought this last night. We will see Austin soon. He will make his debut, I guarantee you.
I think he'll play
maybe
in
at
the
Rangers.
Europa League.
Maybe at Rangers, maybe in the 2 games in January, FA Cup 3rd round.
Rangers will be interesting because Forster, obviously, they will be chomping at the bit for Fraser Forster.
Oh, yes, a good point.
All right.
Rumour is Vidi.
Ronnie says here, rumour is Van der Ven. Okay, Van der Ven will be back for Chelsea. Well,
that would be very welcome.
That's where it all went wrong last year.
He was there last night.
Was he?
He was hugging.
Okay.
Max Hummels.
I wanted to give a welcome to Sarah L, who is a new commenter on our YouTube channel. Welcome, Sarah, an Australian fan. Strap in, Sarah, because this is the Tottenham Hotspur ride. And it continued last night at home to Roma. This was the team that we played. Forster in goal. Porro, Dragusin, Davies and Gray. Kulusevski, Bentancur, Sarr, Johnson, Solanke and Son. I want to quickly ask you about Bentancur. I don't want to get too deep in the politics. Some people were saying, should he be playing? Is he only racist in the Premier League and the FA Cup and the League Cup? I think that's a regulatory problem for football. I think you're either banned for football or you're not banned for football.
But there were a few. When I say a few, there were murmurings of a few boos on his name in the South East Upper last night when his name was rung. So a lot of people, some people, not a lot, but were not happy that when maybe they were more upset with the club playing him. So yeah, that's it. But it's a strange, it's a strange loophole. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're either out or you're out.
Yeah,
you're out, surely.
And then there's whether the club should actually say, well, if you believe he's racist in this circumstance, and he's racist in this circumstance, and actually we're not going to play him during this period because. Why should he be deemed racist domestically but not? Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I think if we had a cover at left back, he may not have played because I'd really, really like to see Archie Gray playing.
We've had this chat before,
actual position. I feel sorry for the kid. So lineup was interesting. Some thought Bergvall might play. Paul O'Keefe said that Manson had a little knock against City, which is probably why he didn't start. You don't play at home to Roma, our biggest home game of the campaign, and not go strong.
Plus, remember the ticket prices were a bit more expensive last night.
What's that got to do with the lineup?
But I think it was deemed to be the sort of the premium game, and they were decent. Roma are I think that's a brilliant line about them on Twitter, which was, "Are they the worst big team in Europe?" And Roma are a big name, so you're going to play and someone said, "Oh, but they're mid-table." It's like, where are we?
Well, not anymore, but we were.
Exactly. But I thought the team was broadly the right team. I don't think we've got many options, have we?
No, that's it. Lack of options. Lancashire was suspended. It's very frustrating that Richarlison is injured again, and Odebear is injured, and the centre halves may have been rotated anyway. But I think it's a shame that Solanke can't get a rest.
Did you see the picture of Odebear on crutches through the tunnel? So he's months away, isn't he?
Don't see him starting at Fulham. I'll do that.
Like Odebear might be the thing where you take him out the Europa League squad from January onwards if he's
not fit.
That's not a bad shout.
I mean, he might not play this season. Vicario might not play this season.
I think Vicario will be back. I actually think he might be back sooner than we think. I'm not saying he'll be back this year, obviously, but I reckon might see him in Feb.
Well, realistically, if we say we qualify top 8, we'll come back. We wouldn't have a match until when? March. So you're still at 4 months from anyway.
So the team, as Sidney Duke says, was appropriately strong. Absolutely. We started really, really well. A rare penalty for Tottenham Hotspur.
Not given.
Do you know what?
Not given on the field.
You know what? You lot didn't see it, and I search his name on Twitter every time I watch Spurs in Europe. Glenn Hoddle is beyond belief. He was like, no penalty, no contact, and it was just a stonewall pen. Sarr got there first, nipped the head. Hummels fouled him, no problem. I can't believe they actually needed 14 angles. It was so blatant, and Hoddle was like fuming.
It was one of those ones when you
fuming.
You knew you were going to get it actually because you could just sense the fact they were checking it because everyone was going to overturn the on-field non-decision.
Is it only us? Is it our second? I feel like I missed one, but is our second pen? No, third pen since Kane left.
Richarlison got a pen.
Oh no, fourth. We got one
against
a few weeks ago.
AZ.
Yeah,
I think it was Arsenal and Newcastle last year. So we're 4 out of 4.
And Arsenal wasn't given by the on-field ref. That required a review.
There were some stunning decisions in Europe last night where a couple of times Chelsea had one where the referee didn't give the pen, was told to go and have a look,
and still didn't give it,
and backed his own judgment, which you want to see. But why are they even sending him over there?
Look, Gary saying the only people that didn't think it was a pen was Hoddle, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that there was any debate. I was just like, it was just
so Son sticks it away. We don't need to go through every goal with a fine-tooth comb, but Roma came back into the game. As we said, they're a good side. I think it's just our luck that we play Roma. If we played Roma 2 weeks ago, we'd have beaten them comfortably. Ranieri comes in, whatever people might think about Ranieri.
We've only beaten him once, I think, ever or something.
Who, Ranieri?
Yeah, I think
he's a good manager, and he'll certainly turn a team around. That team's got some really, really good players in it.
So good.
Dybala's fantastic.
He just controlled the first half at times.
Remember him?
I remember that transfer deadline day.
God, so good.
He's a wonderful player. I like the boy midfielder, though he didn't have a great game yesterday. Kone, Dovbik's a handful. That's a good team.
They have plenty of names you've heard of.
That's a tough. We were at home. It's a tougher test than Galatasaray in terms of players, I think, overall.
But we played a strong team. We needed to play a strong team, and it was actually a pretty well balanced game of football. I think my general conclusion from the game without going to is should have won, but could easily have lost.
Yeah,
tell you what, he didn't have a really, really brilliant game, I think, at this first start. Hummels is so classy, some of the things he does. You can tell that he's been a top-level defender. Don't think Solanke got much out of him.
I want to ask about Solanke. I thought first half the ball bounced off him a fair bit. And if we're playing Forster, we're probably going to go a little bit longer at times.
And our centre-backs, as they are at the moment as well.
Yeah. Someone said on Twitter, I disagree with this. I'm just putting this out there. I don't want anybody having a go at me suggesting that I think Solanke's no good. Because what he does, I'm answering the question myself here, what he does to bring in other players is fantastic. His work rate is incredible. Do we worry he's not at the moment so much of a goal threat? I know he hit the bar yesterday and had a couple of moments.
Doesn't get chances. He scored 6 goals in the last 2 games. He's had 1 chance. Didn't have a sniff against. We did actually have one sort of.
He had a chance against City.
I don't know. There are times where I sort of watching us wave off the wave, creating loads of chances, and I'm like,
where is he?
Where is Solanke?
Often making that chance to start with.
But then again, this is where this will never ever show up on any sort of stats. But you watch back that second goal, Solanke drags that defender and creates that space for Johnson. And I know no one wants to hear that kind of stuff when you paid 60 million for him. But yeah, it's a little bit frustrating.
It's not frustrating. I think it's just a shame for him. I think he wants goals.
Is Solanke actually more like, and this is one of my most hated things about Sky over the last few years, is he actually like more like a Bobby Firmino? Calling Roberto Firmino Bobby is like, don't have that level of familiarity with what you're meant to be a neutral player. But anyway, Firmino didn't score goals, but actually
he wasn't prolific.
But actually, the key what he was doing was the fact that he was creating space and opportunities for Salah and Mane, we're set up in a similar way. Johnson has scored. It's no coincidence that Johnson has pretty much scored every single game since Solanke has come into the team. If we had something similar, Sonny is not. Maybe he will get there, but he obviously does score goals. But if we had two unbelievable wingers in the way you had Salah and Mane, you'd be looking at Solanke differently. But we are the top scorers in the league. So I think we've got to get beyond the individual, because look, we've come from having Harry Kane, where everything was about the individual, but now actually we've got a team of forwards who are scoring a lot of goals.
Yeah,
I think the one concern is, and Ryan mentions this as well, he doesn't seem hungry enough to score goals. He's not bothered if he doesn't score.
I think every striker.
Harry Kane used to have that sort of mentality. If we won 4-0 and he didn't score, he would not be happy.
Defoe was
he has not got that mentality. Fair enough. He's playing really well and whatever. And I'm sure when we won 4-0 at City, he wasn't worried in that kind of game. But like, if we tonk Fulham 6-0 on Sunday, you sort of think Solanke doesn't score. He doesn't really care. He doesn't seem to have that appetite and hunger to score goals, which, I love him. I think he's brilliant. But you just want that,
I'm sure I think he
doesn't feel like he has that sort of...
I think he has
I'm not saying he doesn't want to score.
But he's very much a team player, and I absolutely love it. There was a moment yesterday where he could have put Maddison in, but went on his weaker side and had a shot. Listen, this is not a complaint.
There was one as well when he squared it and he tried to put it to Johnson on about the 80th minute, I think it was. I think other strikers would have probably have shot. But as I said, he's part of a unit that's scoring a lot of goals. Excuse me, sorry. One of the other things I've been thinking about is I'd love to see, in some ways, like Solanke playing in a 2 with one of Son or Johnson, and how that would sort of maybe alter things as well. I think Son certainly could benefit from being in a 2 rather than in 3 as a much more narrow forward, because I just don't think Son's a winger. But I don't think Solanke's got a killer instinct the way that others do. But
like Sydney says, that header, that was a sitter.
I think I wouldn't call it a sitter. Not that he has.
Oh no,
no, difficult chance. But this is not a complaint on Solanke. Can I just want to go back to
it's not a complaint on Solanke. No, not at all.
The second goal was
second goal
wonderful. Kulusevski, who again.
Well, go back.
I'm going to. Kulusevski pops up on the left, and he'd like against City. He's nominated on the team sheet as playing right wing, but he was everywhere. He was the old Football Manager AMRLC. You go where you want. He pops up on the left hand side for the first time in a long time. Sarr dinks the ball over the top. Good run from Solanke, like you say, to create the space. Johnson's finished. We all go on about how well Johnson just pops up at the back post. Wow. This was, you see that either go into the north stand,
by the way,
miss kick it.
By the way, plenty of our shots last night seemed to go into the north upper.
That was a wonderful finish.
It was a great finish.
Anyone that's played football, that one coming across you. So many players will shin that out, balloon it over the bar, that was such a good finish.
Weaker foot as well. Brilliant finish. And Goldie didn't move. I mean, so annoying because you don't get the replays. So I haven't actually seen it, but it was you just see it was just a lovely football goal. Brilliant goal.
We had chances after that. Moments later, was it Kulusevski hit the post?
Like a huge moment, didn't it? There was obviously the one that was off the line and whatever. There was other chances. But that moment there, you sort of thought that was the game. We just scored, hadn't we?
Yeah, straight away.
And you just thought if that goes in, we win.
But actually going back, they'd obviously equalised. And then they had that goal disallowed. Was it Shawahi? I think it was.
El Shaarawy. Was it Dika, wasn't it?
No, Dika scored.
El
Shaarawy.
They had their first disallowed goal. Then we had that one off the line. The game was really in a sort of like, we were in a bit of flux and the game was very much in the balance. Then we scored, and it felt then, between then and half time, we had that opportunity to take the game beyond it. And I was texting you saying, we're going to need more here. We're going to need more goals. And then, unfortunately, half-time did kind of come at a slightly annoying time for us. I think another few minutes, if we'd have got that third goal, I think we'd have been home and dry. A bit
for
earlier.
sure. I think that would have
I'm
killed
not
Roma
talking about
off.
Solanke's header in the 85th minute. I'm talking about if we'd have got that goal before half-time at 3-1, I think we'd have been okay.
What frustrates me is, and I was watching with my friend, and I was saying this to him at the time, when we were flying forward in that period after the second goal, we had the Kulu hit the post, and then the Son chance over, and then the Johnson off the line, and the Solanke, at that moment, you're thinking, how do we not win this game? At that exact moment when the two off the line, I thought, how can we not win this game? But I said to my friend, there is still a chance that this game, the way we play, could be in the balance by the 87th, 88th minute. And you just think, at that moment, how do we do that? How do we not score again? How do we not kill I'm fine with missing chances. It happens. We don't have your Kanes and your prime Sons and your Alis and your Ericssons. But in that specific moment when Roma are on the ropes, there should be no possibility that game gets to the 90th minute at 2-1.
But
it shouldn't.
As Heath says here in the comments, we drew against a good Roma side. That's not a bad Roma side. I said it at the start.
No, it's not.
But we at home, they're very poor away. They've not won away from home. They've got a very poor record in England and Europe. We had chances. They had chances. I think overall, when you look at the game, the draw was a fair result.
And it's not fatal.
It's not fatal.
I'm not. I know you think we're going to lose at Rangers, lose at Hoffenheim, and have to beat Elfsberg to secure a playoff.
Elfsberg's a free hit. I don't know what's going to happen.
It was our hardest home game. The games have stepped up in actual difficulty, and then they drop back off again. So think about our run. First game was Karabag. It's got progressively harder. It's got progressively harder, and that was definitely our hardest game.
I think we'd probably take 10 points considering we've rotated the squad quite a lot.
Yeah, we've now got, fair enough, we've got 2 away, 1 at home, but yeah.
A couple of questions from watchers, listeners. Who would you rather avoid in the knockouts of the last 2 opponents, Gala or Roma? I'd rather avoid Roma.
Galatasaray's tough away game, but at home you can.
Because the other thing as well is they've just equalised and they shut up shop. And I'm sitting there thinking, you could probably have us
at one point, with about 30 seconds to go, the ball was played. I think it was Saar. He may not have been on the pitch. Someone nicked the ball and was going out for their throw. Their winner let it go out for a throw, and I was like, right, well, they're so happy with the draw. Which kind of ties in with what you're saying is we should have put that game away. They were there for the taking. How happy they were to get a point, especially with where they've been. I'd rather play Roma twice. Gala twice, because I don't.
Stadio Olimpico on a big.
Yeah, and Ranieri's a good manager.
They've got a bit more game know-how. As I said, I noticed them shutting up shop, and it was like, yeah, you wouldn't want to play them in a two-legged game. They know how to do these games.
On commentary, I don't know if this was accurate, but they said that they've reached knockouts in the last 4 years, the semi-finals.
Yeah,
but they won the
Conference League, got to the Europa League final. So 4 years in a row,
European
they're the kind of team that, although they could finish 12th in the Serie A, they probably won't. They could win the Europa League just because of that European pedigree and the know-how of you're coming to our ground on a big European night.
Yeah, definitely.
They've got work to do, but they've got a good manager.
Well, they might not even get through, ironically, but they could.
Very good question. And yeah, Roma have got game know-how.
The Bentancur sub at the time, Bentancur, as you well know on this pod, I absolutely loved the guy. Made a really, really stupid tackle on Salamakers. Really bad tackle, unnecessary. That was an exhausted player. He'd started to be the only one to chase the goalkeeper down, which I think was tactical. He was pressing a lot and he was exhausted, and it was a tired tackle from a bloke who wasn't going to get there. And I think Ange took him off because he's on a yellow.
Hoddle wanted him sent off, surprisingly.
Someone made the point, and a lot of people said he took him off because he was on a yellow. Well, Basuma was on a yellow for 95 minutes against Man City and didn't get sent off. I don't think it was the reason we lost, but maybe Bentancur should have stayed on.
Who else could we have brought on?
No one.
No, but I texted you at the time. So I thought every sub was logical. I think I put on our group saying whether it works is another matter, but they are all logical subs.
Yeah,
I did think at the time he could have brought a Dogie on.
Put Gray into midfield.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's not a bad shout.
But
I didn't think the last 15 minutes, and I referenced this, that it felt like a man's game last night. You had a lot of very seasoned pros.
Absolutely, I was thinking that when the teams came out of the tunnel, I was like, Roma have some proper footballers here.
And it didn't feel like if we were going to win, it was going to be a breakaway goal. Not, but more likely, it's going to be quite a dogged last 15 minutes. And it didn't feel like the Bergvall moment. That felt like, and also remember as well, Bentancur, he's racist again from Sunday for another 3 weeks or something. So if anyone's going to play 90 minutes, it should 94 minutes.
Well, I think the concern was he might get sent off, and then we don't have him for Rangers. As Ronnie says on the comments, 40 million for Grant. I'm not worried about the price. I feel a bit sorry for Archie Gray that he can't play in his best position. You're right. He could have brought Doggy on and played. Listen, they still could have scored.
Bergvall was on like a mission to win every header from a corner. Did you notice that?
He's a big lad.
I didn't realise he's like, fair enough.
I will say that obviously Gallo's humour kicked in while I was working last night on the game with a Spurs supporting producer, and we said, what time is the Hummels equaliser? So there you go. That's sporting Tottenham a long time. These things will happen.
You and I had sort of in joke about round the back of the Park Lane end. So the equaliser last night, for those of you who are relatively new to supporting Spurs, that is a goal conceded by Spurs in much of the 1990s. But switch it around. Go think about the old stadium, and the away fans used to be in the Park Lane end, and there'd be a corner in the sort of 85th minute or beyond, and someone would score at the very back post, and they would often run round behind the goal, between the gap between the goal and the stand, to their fans. So yeah, me and you always talk about.
You could probably do like a 2-minute YouTube montage on that.
Well, can Cavi do one? Find all the bad set piece goals conceded by Spurs.
Before we go on to Fulham, we've got an interview. We spoke earlier to a Fulham journalist. Just quickly, I want to ask you about Ange saying, basically, are you not entertained? He was asked about not holding on to Leeds, and he was basically, are you not entertained, guys? For me, entertainment for the neutral is different for entertainment from the fan.
I think that was a bit tongue-in-cheek.
I think it was, but it's deep down, he means we are playing.
Was there a reference to Gladiator that's coming out?
Yeah, maybe.
Do you know who it reminded me of?
Go on.
Ben Stokes.
Go on.
It reminded me of Ben Stokes. Any cricket fans out there? Ben Stokes basically suggested, it was Bazball, it basically suggested that the way we play is more important than
Johnny's a huge fan of Bazball.
Which I'm not saying that because Ange is, a winner, essentially. But it was very sort of, he said, would you rather win 1-0 or 0-0? And I thought, well, if we go out, Would we have rather won 1-0 last night or played like that and drew 2-2?
Well, what I would like to say actually is the fact that what's happened this season, when we've played well, we have won. When we played badly, we have lost. Last night we played both well
apart
and
from Coventry in the League Cup.
Okay, last night we played both well and badly.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, we should have won but could have lost.
Yeah.
Think how many offside goals they scored, and I don't know how close they were or not, but
they're all pretty offside.
But either way, they're getting behind us, whatever's happening. There has to be a point in a football team's evolution that it wins when it's not playing well. And that might be a 1-0 away, and it might be, well, we didn't play that well, but we won and we need to move on because we still need to accumulate points. We cannot play well every single week. No football team does that.
It was tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, I think there's a little bit of
bite.
There's a little bit of bite from Ange, who is that. It's a bit like, I play Bazball. It's the old, this is the way we play, mate. Do you want me to sit on the edge of my area and you win 1-0? Well, no, but I do think that sometimes I had a discussion with friend of the show, Jake Robson, not Jake 1 or 2, just Jake Robson, who was like, I said, I think you need to be a little bit cuter when you're 2-1 up with 15 minutes to go and the Alamo's coming, go down, win a free kick, just do something. But we just carried on playing the way we played.
There was a moment last night just on that where we were under the pump. I think it was just after Roma's first disallowed goal. They just equalised. And Forster could not take goal kicks quick enough. He could not get that ball out quick enough. And I was like, just take your time, manage the game a bit.
Well, there is that.
We've just conceded. Take a bit of sting out the game. Take your time, take 15, 20. But we still seem to be doing that late on in the game. Well, we never seem to manage it great.
There's that stat, I've seen it on Twitter, where it's got average time to get the ball back into play. And
ours must be the lowest in the league.
And Arsenal are actually the slowest.
Well, that's not a surprise. And that's not a surprise that Arsenal don't concede late and,
And mate, look, and if we're, one of the great things you hear about, and I love this as an attitude, we're relentless, we never stop. And I love that as a football team. But you have to be a little bit cuter. Maybe this is why we are getting, a lot of these muscular injuries, and our muscular, there's that mob down the road. They get a muscular injury and their player seems to be back by the weekend or 1 week. Our muscular injuries are guys doing grade 3 tears and are out for 3-4 months. So is there a balance? But I'm going to hasten to add, I love the idea of the team relentlessly wanting to win.
Yeah.
That is, we're Tottenham, we're fallen, we're romantics, and we want to fall at the, but we want to try falling.
I guess you've got to take that to get the Cities, the Villas, the West Hams, the Evertons, the Brentfords, where we blow teams away. It won't always happen.
Yeah, right.
But I'm just saying, sometimes maybe we could slightly manage it better.
We've got Fulham coming up. We had a chat earlier with a Fulham journalist. We'll say at some point this sound just drops out of this one a little bit. Can I blame you, Ollie, for that?
Yes.
Yeah, but stick with it. We fix it. Stick with it, and we all will be back soon after we've played in this interview with our Fulham journalist. I think I am. Delighted to be joined by Jack Kelly, journalist following Fulham FC. That is a tongue twister. Jack, thank you so much for joining us. Let's go straight in with Fulham. It's been a good start to the season, but last Saturday against Wolves was a little bit of a dip. How have you seen the start to the campaign?
No, it's been good apart from that game against Wolves. I think that Fulham started well. It started as we'd sort of expect. Got a very, very good goal for Iwobi, but I think the equaliser through Matheus Cunha completely killed the game for Fulham. It caught us off guard, and we never really recovered. And Wolves went on to win the game. Yaki Madison then went off injured. We'd made all 5 subs, so we were down to 10 men through no fault of our own. And then suddenly they hit us with another 2 goals. And scoreline didn't really reflect the game, but Wolves were really good value for the win, and I don't really have any complaints about it.
I said on here a few times, I actually went to your game at Everton, my wife being an Everton fan. We went up to the game a couple of weeks ago. I thought Fulham were really good, really organised, moved the ball nicely, but actually lacked a bit of a punch. I mean, you scored 17 goals this season, which isn't bad. A couple of Harry Wilson late strikes has done that as well. Is there a little bit of a concern that there is a lack of goals in the team?
It's interesting. I wouldn't say lack of goals in the team. I would have said that this time last year. There are goals in this team, but we're not scoring as many goals as we're creating chances. Players like Reece Nelson are wasting chances. Raul Jimenez hasn't scored as many as I thought he would at this stage of the season. There are goals from all over the pitch. Smith Rowe's obviously contributing. Iwobi's been absolutely fantastic, but I'm actually fairly satisfied with how many goals we are scoring. However, we're not taking as many chances as we should. When we beat Palace 2-0 the other day, that game could have ended 4 or 5-0 to Fulham. So it's just about taking those chances and killing the game. But the perfect example was the Everton game, where we were going into added time at 1-0. We should have been maybe 2 or 3 goals up, and then we ended up dropping 2 points.
You mentioned that Everton game. There's obviously the West Ham game and the Man City game as well, which they probably should have won. What do you see as a good season for Fulham this year? Because they've obviously had a really good start, but it could have possibly, maybe should have been sort of 6 or 7 points better.
Yeah, we should be on more points for sure. Honestly, you look at Nottingham Forest's start to the season and Brighton's, and we've been basically on par with those sort of teams, but we don't have the points to back it up. So I think the top 10 would probably be realistically for the fans. I think very, very, very a very good sort of. I don't know. I think that top 10 is realistic. I think that we can push for Europe, but it's these sort of games that we're dropping points last minute, and the game against Wolves that are going to let us down, take away that sort of credibility that we've got in the bank. But I think the sky's the limit with this team. It's just about taking those chances and keeping everyone fit. Now we've got Yaki Madison out for the game on Sunday. Probably we'll hear from Marco later today. That's going to be a huge hindrance for us, especially going into the game on Sunday, actually.
Do you fear that if you sort of overachieve too much, Marco Silva sort of could look at if he gets an offer elsewhere? Is there any sort of fears from the fans having, the job he's sort of done over the last 4 years, that he could be pinched by a bigger club?
Yes. Although he has turned down, Saudi Arabia, he's turned down huge money, and he's turned down, I think, Sporting Lisbon as well. The one club who I'm worried about pinching Marco is Tottenham, just based on
what do you know? What do you know about Ange?
Well, I mean, if Ange Postecoglou was to get sacked, and I don't think he's necessarily going to be on be getting sacked anytime soon after recent results. But there was a time earlier this season where I did think, after the Brighton game at least, I thought maybe his time could be up. But if Spurs were to look to a new manager, Marco would be maybe top of the list. Obviously, United as well. They looked at Silva during the summer, and they've now got in their new manager. So for now, I think I'm okay. I'm not too worried. I don't think the fan base is too worried, but there's definitely potential that Marco could go to a bigger team or a European team in the future.
I actually don't think you've got much to worry about Marco Silva come to Spurs. I think he's done a really, really good job at Fulham, but I don't see him. I don't see him as a potential Spurs manager. But anyway, being a Spurs fan, obviously incredibly superstitious. We're playing against a team that've got a number of ex-Arsenal players. Which one is going to get man of the match on Sunday?
I didn't catch that.
Fine. Yeah, the mic dropped there. Well, I'll do it. Basically, Ollie was saying that you've got a load of ex-Arsenal players. Which one's going to be man of the match on Sunday?
I think Iwobi's performances this season, he's been our player of the season by a mile. I actually don't think that Emil Smith-Rowe will start the game just due to the way we might set up. I think we'll play two in midfield with Sander Berger and Sasha Lukic, and then Andres Pereira, who is notoriously the number 10. Because of his off-the-ball work, he'll probably be the number 10. So I think, and I don't think Nelson's going to start either. I think Adama Traore is going to come back in. So it maybe Bernd Leno, if he could pull off a few wonder saves and deny, Maddison, Solanke, Son, Brennan Johnson, Kulusevski, all those players. But I think Iwobi, going forward, he's not blessed with incredible pace, but he's very, very effective on the ball, and his decision making has got way better, and his goal contributions have been fantastic this season. So I'm going to go Alex Iwobi. I really enjoy watching him at the moment.
I think he's playing the best football of his career at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah,
most consistent.
Yeah. We've got a pretty good record against you at home. Certainly away from home, it can be a bit ropey. I've been to Craven Cottage a few times and left in a very bad mood. I remember leaving an FA Cup game 3-0. I left at 28 minutes. I was like, I'm done. This is pointless.
Yeah, I went to the pub on the Fulham Palace Road up by Hampstead Station, and we were 4-0 down by the time we got to the pub.
Yeah, so we've had our moments at Craven Cottage. We've not lost at home since Berbatov scored in a 1-0 defeat in 2013. How do you see Sunday going, and a prediction for the game?
I don't know. It's going to be tough. I mean, this time last week, I was really confident that we could go there and get something. I mean, based on the way Spurs play, especially at home, the expectation is that they're going to dominate the ball, and that would allow us to sort of sit off and then sort of try and spring a counter-attack. And you look at the performance we played against Man City, and you can use that as a blueprint as to how to approach this game against Spurs. Obviously, then we go and lose 4-1, and then you beat Man City 4-0. Last night, I watched about 65 minutes of the game last night, and I thought Spurs were pretty dangerous, but they were, again, quite vulnerable at the back.
Yeah,
so
totally,
I do think that there's definitely a chance for Fulham to get at Spurs. I've said that for a few weeks. Robinson and Tete as wing-backs, and then Adama Traore to get in behind as well, or Reece Nelson or Alex Iwobi, Raul Jimenez getting into the box. I'm backing Fulham to respond and get a point. Because you've got to back your team.
Yeah,
I feel like you've got to back them. I think Spurs are incredibly dangerous going forward. They've got so many decent players. But if there's no Van der Ven, which I guess we'll find out today,
no, he won't play. No, he won't play.
No Romero. So suddenly you've got Dragazin and Davis at the back. They can be got at. And Roma last night created some decent chances. I think Spurs actually probably should have put them away. And then I missed the last 25 and then found out they'd drawn in the end. And I think Fulham will take the lead, and I think you'll equalise. Spurs have conceded first in quite a few home games this season.
Certainly in the league.
But then have come back to win the games or turn it around.
Yeah.
I think Fulham could be in a similar scenario, but I think we can hold you guys out and draw 1-1.
I don't mean to burst your bubble, but when did we last draw at home in the Premier League?
We haven't done it under Ange.
Man United, April 2023.
Under Ryan Mason.
But one in the last 3 years.
Yeah, what I was going to say is actually the way that Fulham set up, it's probably not too dissimilar to Roma.
I was going to say, it's going to be a very similar game.
Yeah, quite pragmatic. That's why I don't think Marco Silva will be Spurs manager, because he is a little bit more on the pragmatic side of things. But I think they'll be quite similar, and I think they'll watch last night as a way to attack us, because they've got good enough players to attack us, but also solid defensively. And the next Fulham manager was doing it for them last night. Is he popular down at Fulham, Ranieri? He's not, is he?
No.
How's Sessegnon, by the way?
Well, Cesc has not got a minute of football really. He's playing the
Sounds
Carabao Cup
familiar.
against Preston. But unfortunately, because Robinson is the number one choice at left back, Sessegnon, as nice as it is to have him back and as sentimental as it is, he's just not going to get a look in the Premier League this season, unfortunately.
And Robinson is brilliant. Yeah, he is really good.
Okay, Jack, as I always say, good luck for Sunday. I don't mean it.
Thanks very much.
But listen, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thanks. Enjoy the game, guys.
Thank you.
Take
Cheers.
care.
Thank you so much, mate. Okay, good to talk to a Fulham fan. They're a funny old team. That Wolves game was a bit odd, but they're a difficult team to play. Before we go into Fulham now, I want to just promote this book again. Like I said, we had an interview with the author, Julie Welch, a couple of weeks ago. A few issues with that. Can't play it, but I've promised that we are going to give this book away as a prize pre-Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you're into. Good stocking filler. This is the biography of Tottenham Hotspur. As I always say, there's a lot to talk about in this club. We talk about our biggest win, our best win being Man City. There's plenty of great wins in this book. We are going to give this book away. You have to be an Echo of Glory member, not a subscriber. Go on our YouTube channel. Our producer, James, is just bringing in cups of tea for everyone. That's the luxury of Launchpod Studios.
Yes.
We are giving this book away. You've got to be a member. Go onto our YouTube channel, click join. If you're not a subscriber, do that as well. You've got to do that on a desktop, not an iPad or your phone. Do that. You've got a chance to win this. We'll give it away just before Christmas. That is that.
Does it have a happy ending?
I don't know when it ends. I assume the end of
Nothing.
Well, it's already
Nothing Tottenham related as a happy ending.
It needs a quick addendum for the 4-0 City.
Right, so Fulham.
Separate DVD, surely. Of course, yeah.
Fulham, Jake Sanders, you have some team news. I think Andrew's talking as we're talking.
And just basically said that clean bill of health last night, although he fought that post City and Vicario broke his leg. So maybe Porro's broken his arm. Romero's got a chance, basically, which, as I was saying before, I think of all players that have played for us in the last however long, as much as we criticise Romero, he's the kind of player that could be a major doubt and play.
Yeah.
So
what I took from talking to the Fulham fan was, I think deep down, he didn't really want to say it. He's really he thinks they're a good side this year.
I think they're a decent side. I think they're, how long's Silva been there for? 3 years or so?
this is his fourth year.
2021.
So, and they look like a team who's with a manager and a bit of a plan.
Trust the process.
Trust, exactly. Who got the players that he wants and has got them set up in the way that he wants. I think he is. I think Jack was quite worried that Silva's going to go, but actually I think it's the perfect club for him. I also think playing at Craven Cottage for the way he wants to play.
Oh, you're going to go on about a small pitch, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Even though they lost,
obsessed with pitch sizes, you
and
stanchions, goal stanchions.
Yes, but they are a decent organised team, and the Wolves game is a blip because actually when I've seen them, and for those who saw my debut on this pod, know that my dad used to support Fulham. So I always kind of look at them, my dad is a Spurs fan now, Spurs season ticket holder, but I do look at Fulham and notice how they're doing. And they are a good Premier League team. He was talking about top 10 finish. I think top 10 is absolute. They're well capable of that. I was wondering whether they could maybe push for European, but it's going to be somewhere between the two. They're definitely, West Ham, you often look at being the sort of best of the rest outside the sort of top 6, 7. I think Fulham are the best of the rest this season.
At the moment.
I think they're really organised.
Yeah, Sidney Duke's right. Their data is good. You look at a lot of their expected...
Proper member, by the way.
Sidney Duke. He's our latest member.
That is a proper member coming in with data like that.
Yeah, he's more than
What
welcome.
I was going to say, though, is, and I'm pretty sure you watched it, the City-Fulham game a few weeks ago. For anyone that watched that game, that is more than a decent side.
Which game, sorry?
Fulham City at the Etihad.
Oh, they were excellent.
On another day, that game ends 4-1 to Fulham.
Was that the game had a brilliant? Someone had a brilliant assist to Jimenez.
Yeah,
Pereira.
But if Traore could finish, Fulham would have won that game comfortably.
Oh, great! We
absolutely
get to play Traore on Sunday.
So, as I was going to say, we could roll them over. We can do that. But this is more than a decent team. This is a seriously well coached team for what he's got available. Considering they've lost their best player in the last 2 years. no Mitrovic hasn't replaced him. No Paulinho hasn't really replaced him, and it's not changed much.
Well, they've lost Tosin, went to Chelsea,
and Tosin as well.
I think Anderson will probably be out. A player that we've been linked with for the last
Anderson
3 years.
Will be out,
But we were just talking to Jared. Robertson at fullback is a good player, and they've forgotten about Traore, and we know what that spells against us. They've obviously got a whole load of gooners who will raise their game. I just think they are better than an organised Premier League team. They are. They're going to give us a real test, and as we said, I think they'll be set up. I think it'll be quite a similar game to Roma.
Very similar.
They'll give you chance. Fulham give you chances. They will.
All right, and what about us? I would go back to the team that beat City.
One change, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously forced to, one change.
Yeah, I think that's about right. By the way, special mention for the first Matheus Cunha goal against Fulham. The long ball, I can't know who played it, but the long ball, then he controlled it and then flicked over the goalie, which reminded me of a certain Mr. D. Ali. It was like a proper Dele Alli goal. Yeah. And we've been linked to Cunha this week. I know it's not Wolves pod, but obviously
he is outstanding.
Based on those, we've got to think about how we're going to beat teams with a low block. And actually, that goal is a goal we don't score anymore. We don't do those long diagonal.
Toby to Dilly.
Yeah, Toby to Dilly. Romero used to do that pass quite a lot, but we don't do that pass with the sort of runner from deep.
No.
And actually, we were discussing off air earlier on crossfield balls against us. Oh my God, it's like unbelievable how one crossfield ball and we're suddenly open. And I'm trying to work out if one of our listeners know what the tactical side of it, but it feels like their goalie will have the ball. This is late on in games. You're thinking, right, just shut it down. The goalie will have the ball, and we seem to go quite narrow. Opposition wingers go very wide, and literally they're one-on-one with our fullbacks immediately. It's got 2-on-1.
Ange likes to fill the box. I think he's very much, we will deal with you in the penalty area, and that's the way he defends, mate. But let's go back to it. One change, the goalkeeper.
Slightly harsh for Brennan Johnson.
It's a tough one on Johnson.
Comes on last week. I thought he was actually did a lot of good work helping out on the left before the goal, and then he pops up and scores. Last night didn't have his best game, but again, I think only Salah and Haaland in the Premier League have scored more goals than him in all competitions this season. His numbers are phenomenal. Yeah. 9 goals by December is more than anyone could have imagined. But you have to play Maddison, and unless he's willing to drop Sarr.
No,
Maddison. I think not play a player that did that.
I think that's where the game could be won on. Listen, we could beat Fulham everywhere, but he talks about they've got good fullbacks, got good wingers. I think centrally in midfield we're much stronger than them. I wouldn't be dropping Sarr.
Their midfield will be as our Fulham.
But we also got to remember
it's going to be Lukic and Berg.
Berg's out, isn't he?
Is Berger out?
Possibly. Yeah.
Look, we played last night as well. They haven't.
Yeah.
They're probably the best team not playing in Europe, so they're going to be fresh against us. We are wildly inconsistent, or we're absolutely consistent with our inconsistency. We'll sit here and say, yeah, he's got to go with the same team as he played last week.
Daniel Pinker's here. He might. We can't afford to rest Decky.
No. But we are. Yeah, we're all sitting here saying, yeah, we've got to play the same team, save for Vicario for Forster for Vicario. But we could put in a completely different performance to the one at the Etihad last week.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't play the same team.
No. I'm just saying that don't be surprised if you suddenly halfway through the game on Sunday.
This is different.
This is completely different. This is the mad thing about our team at the moment.
My concern is we're probably hopefully going to get a centre-back or two in back, Romero and Van der Ven in the next few weeks. My concern is we've got 9 games in the next
31 days, yeah.
How do we rotate there in the attacking positions? We've got no Bentancur. He's not going to play Bergvall. He's not going to play Gray. So we've got Bissouma and Sarr. And we've got one change in the front 4 now, haven't we? Because it's either Maddison or it's Johnson. Where else do we go? We've got no Richarlison. We've got no Odegaard. Werner.
I think Werner might come in against Rangers.
No.
But I mean more the Premier League games and the League Cup.
There might be some Premier League games where he goes back to the Bissouma, Maddison, Kulusevski in midfield. There might be some games where you can have a go at But going back to the Decky does need a rest, but Johnny and I were discussing this again off air at some point. The way the squad is at the moment, Kulusevski is pretty much the only player in our team who is undroppable because of their ability. We've got a number of others who are undroppable because we simply have no one else to replace them. Udogie is undroppable, and Porro because we have no fullbacks to come in. The goalkeeper, Vicario, was essentially undroppable because we had Fraser Forster. Obviously, injury has played that hand. But the point being is that we cannot rest Kulusevski because he's our only genuinely...
Well, no, you could play Johnson and Maddison and Son.
We still have to play Kulusevski at some
I think the worry is
he's got to be on the pitch. He's our best player by a country mile. Whereas once upon a time we had a team of undroppables because they were all genuinely brilliant. Yeah. So that's where the squad has evolved to, unfortunately, and hopefully we get to there again once in the future. But yeah, that's where we are now.
I think what's frustrating in terms of maybe Solanke and Kulu is last night is a prime game, right? If that game's done by 60 minutes and we're a few ahead, you can just take them off. And we're not allowing that. We had it against City when, they sort of dominated that second half.
In the cup.
We should have been a few up.
Oh, in the league?
And no, in the cup.
In the cup.
We should have been 3-4-1 up. We missed some chances. And then it's sort of like, I remember when we used to have it with Kane in his last season or two, he was just on the pitch for every minute. And we don't want Solanke playing 90 minutes last night. We don't.
No, well,
we don't really want Solanke playing 4 days before.
Would Lancashire have played last night? He'd have come on.
No,
he'd have come on.
He wouldn't have started. But he'll start. He should. Solanke shouldn't play another Europa League game until the knockouts now.
But remember, we're also talking like we're the only team having to play midweek. There are plenty of Champions League teams in the Premier League.
Arsenal just played the same team.
They just play. So, we're seeing it. If we were in the Champions League, there'd be absolutely no doubt we're going full strength.
Do you know why? Because I think we feel fragile every time we go on the pitch. I think it's because of the number of muscular injuries we've got. Every time we go on the pitch, you feel who's going to blow up this week. Listen, the guys will tell and go, I'm ready. I'll play Sunday. They'll probably want to play Sunday, Thursday.
That's what I was going to say. Like, people saying Kulu's... You think Kulu wants to... You asked Kulu today, you want to be on the bench Sunday?
No.
You fancy 20 minutes against Fulham? On Thursday at Bournemouth, you want to rest there? Of course he doesn't.
Yeah, he wants to play.
But also, he's playing well.
Yeah.
Players don't care when they're playing. If we were losing 5 or 6 and he's not playing well, maybe he could, have a... Kulu wants to play every minute. Well, you think he'll settle for being on the bench against Rangers? No chance.
Wasn't there that weird...
They're elite footballers.
But isn't that the Dutch and the Belgian? Like, a lot of their players, like, if I'm not 100%, I don't play. There's like Iron Robben was quite famous for, like, if I'm not absolutely fully fit, I'm not playing. And I think it's quite a sort of low country style mentality. Like the Scandinavians, like they'll run all day long. And then going back to Romero, he is a bit of a warrior. We might have question marks about him, but he will want to be getting on that pitch.
He'll want to play. All right.
It's interesting what Ronnie says about, and that's the way I look at Kulu. And Ange just said in his presser before, I've got a feeling that Kulu's not going to settle for anything than being the best. And that's playing every minute. He wants to play every minute, and I agree. Fingers crossed he does not get injured, but he feels like the kind of player
bookmark
that can just go.
Yeah. Right. Talking of going, done. Predictions, please, for Tottenham Hotspur against Fulham. Ollie Spiro. Silence.
2-1 Spurs.
Jake. 2-1. Yeah.
I'm not going.
You know what? Why is it with you, Jake's not going at the Spurs?
You know why I'm not going? I told you recently.
Can't remember.
I only go into 1 every 2 home games.
Why?
Because the team only turn up once every 2.
But yeah, we're now out of sync because we've run away from home.
Yeah, that is the problem.
3-2
so I'm going
Spurs.
to Chelsea.
Going to Chelsea. 3-2 Spurs.
I can't predict this 2-3 goal wins anymore.
As you said, Ollie, it's going to be similar to Roma. And in the Roma game, we played well and we played badly. I know I do the predictions. And I'll go back to the City game where I said the other week I saw a neutral fan outside the ground and he said to me, what's the score going to be, mate? And I said, I can't predict Tottenham. Just do one here just to get your thoughts.
Why is it a 1:30 kickoff?
Well, and Liverpool City is 4. It's 4. So they're all half an hour early.
I don't like the early game. 2 or 1:30 the same, but I never... Early home games, I always feel like they can be a bit flat, like Ipswich. They can always be a little bit...
A low winter sun over the East Stand.
Just another 90s reference for you.
So what are you going? 3-2?
Yep.
Are you going on Sunday?
Yep. Taking my son. And again, I'm tempting fate here. He's been to about 20 games now. He's only seen us lose twice, and both against Villa. So he's not seen us lose to
Do
anyone
you vent
else.
to him after a loss in the car?
No.
You just go, what can I say?
I do apologise to him. Well, we lost to Villa. The only teams he's seen is Villa. But when we saw the Ipswich game, I showed him the highlights. I was like, I'm really sorry. Like, you're 9. This is what you're going to have this now. You know.
I actually thanked my dad after the City game on Saturday.
You thanked him?
I thanked him. I said, for all of the shit this club put us through, I would not even change anything about.
I'd change it.
Them.
I'd change it.
I wouldn't.
I'd change a few.
I honestly
bits.
wouldn't. I was like, thank you for making me support Tottenham.
I always thank my dad when we do something stupid. I'm like, thanks, this is your fault. But maybe I should thank him more.
I can't say that to my dad because he was a Fulham fan.
I literally said, for all of the crap, these results are why we cling on and still here after.
See, I blame my brother. But yeah, it's look, you know, if you become a Spurs supporter, you know, it is, again, it's that romance. It is the sort of the hope that kills you. You know, that is what we are as a club, you know, and it goes back to our very first chat today about the greatest wins. But, you know, some of the most heartbreaking losses would be, but yeah, there's a book about that.
I'm plugging this book again.
Yeah, there you
Become
are.
a member.
This is the Ollie Spiro derby, this game, isn't it?
It's the Ellis derby, as it's fondly known.
We're out. We've been kicked out of the wonderful Launchpod studios at 11. We've gone over our time. He's going to charge me 6 minutes over. Gentlemen, thank you very much. You're going to get a parking ticket. Thank you very much. We will see you soon, and up the Spurs.